In a split second, a biker's reckless slap ignited a firestorm he never saw coming. A delivery girl's quiet strength turned his world upside down, leaving him crumpled under his own bike in a twist of fate that'll keep you glued to every word. Want more gripping tales like this? Subscribe now for stories that pack a punch and keep you on the edge. On a sweltering summer evening in the gritty heart of Redwood City, where neon signs flickered like dying stars and the hum of traffic never ceased, 19-year-old Mia Delgado pedaled her beat-up bicycle through the narrow alleys, a delivery bag slung over her shoulder, stuffed with greasy takeout containers from Mama Rosa's diner. Mia was no stranger to the grind. Her mother's hospital bills loomed like a storm cloud, and every delivery tip was a lifeline. She was small, barely 5 feet tall, with a wiry frame and eyes that held a quiet fire, hardened by years of fending for herself in a world that didn't care. That night, her last delivery was to a rowdy bar on 7th Street, a place where leather-clad bikers and troublemakers congregated, their Harleys lined up like sleeping beasts. Among them was Jace, Hawk, Malone, a hulking figure at 6'3", his arms inked with skulls and serpents, his reputation as the local motorcycle club's enforcer preceding him like a bad smell. Jace was nursing his 5th beer, his temper already frayed from a botched deal with a rival gang, when Mia pushed through the bar's creaky door, her delivery bag steaming with the scent of burgers and fries. The room fell quiet for a moment, eyes sizing her up, a girl in a faded hoodie, her braid fraying, her bike helmet tucked under one arm. Jace, slouched at the bar, spotted her and sneered, his buddies chuckling as he called out, "Yo, delivery kid, you lost or just stupid?" Mia ignored him, her focus on the order slip, but Jace wasn't one to be ignored. He slid off his stool, swaggering over, his boots thudding against the warped floorboards. "Hey, I'm talking to you," he growled, snatching the bag from her hands and tossing it onto a nearby table, the contents spilling out. Mia's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice steady, saying, "Just give me the payment, sir, and I'll be out of your way." The "sir" was a jab, and Jace's face darkened. Without warning, his hand lashed out, a sharp slap across Mia's cheek that echoed in the now silent bar. Her head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on her skin, but she didn't flinch, didn't cry out. The bar patrons froze, some smirking, others looking away, but Mia's eyes locked onto Jace's, and something in her gaze, a glint of steel, made his smirk falter for a split second. "Know your place, kid," he spat, turning back to his beer, expecting her to scurry off like a kicked dog. But Mia wasn't built that way. She'd grown up in the shadow of her father, a former martial arts instructor who'd taught her more than just how to throw a punch before he vanished when she was 12. She'd spent years honing those skills in secret, sparring with shadows in her tiny apartment, her body a coiled spring of discipline and rage. As Jace laughed with his crew, Mia stepped outside, her heart pounding but her mind clear. She glanced at his prized Harley parked out front, its chrome gleaming under the streetlight, and a plan sparked. She didn't just want to walk away, she wanted to teach him a lesson he'd never forget. Mia slipped into the alley, where she'd stashed her bike, and grabbed a small toolkit she always carried for quick repairs. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, loosening a few key bolts on Jace's bike, not enough to crash it, but enough to make it wobble dangerously at the right moment. She knew he'd ride out soon, the bar was closing, and Jace was too drunk to notice. Subtle sabotage. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, Jace stumbled out, his crew trailing behind, their laughter cutting through the humid night. Mia lingered in the shadows, her bike propped against a dumpster, watching as Jace swung a leg over his Harley, revving the engine with a roar that rattled windows. "Let's roll," he shouted, peeling out onto the street, his gang following like a pack of wolves. But Mia wasn't done. She hopped on her bicycle, her legs pumping furiously, cutting through side streets to intercept him at the old industrial bridge, a stretch of road notorious for its sharp curve and lack of streetlights. She knew Jace's type, reckless, cocky, always taking that curve too fast to show off. As she predicted, Jace's bike wobbled as he hit the turn, the loosened bolts doing their job. The Harley fishtailed, and with a guttural curse, Jace lost control, the bike skidding out from under him and pinning him to the asphalt. His crew screeched to a halt, shouting, but Mia was already there, emerging from the darkness like a ghost. Jace, trapped under the weight of his own machine, his leg twisted at an ugly angle, looked up at her, his face a mix of pain and disbelief. "You," he gasped, recognizing the delivery girl he'd dismissed. Mia crouched beside him, her voice low and steady. "You shouldn't hit people who don't deserve it," she said, her eyes burning with that same quiet fire. "Next time, it won't just be your bike." She stood, ignoring his curses, and pedaled away as his crew scrambled to free him, their shouts fading into the night. But the story didn't end there. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through Redwood City's underbelly, whispers of a delivery girl who'd humbled the untouchable hawk. Jace, nursing a broken leg and a bruised ego, became obsessed with finding her, not for revenge but to understand how a scrawny teenager had outsmarted him. Meanwhile, Mia kept delivering, her head down, her toolkit always close. She didn't know Jace had started asking around, piecing together her routine, tracking her to Mama Rose's. One night, weeks later, he limped into the diner, his crutches clacking against the tile, his crew nowhere in sight. Mia froze behind the counter, her hand inching toward a kitchen knife, but Jace raised a hand, his expression unreadable. "I ain't here to fight," he said, his voice gruff but lacking its usual venom. "I wanna know how you did it." Mia's guard stayed up, but she sensed a shift in him, something like respect, or maybe fear. She didn't trust him, but she saw an opportunity. "You want to know," she said, leaning forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then you owe me." What followed was an uneasy truce. Jace, humbled and curious, started showing up at the diner, not as a bully but as a shadow, watching Mia work, asking questions about her life, her skills. She never told him about her father, but she let slip enough to keep him hooked, hints of her training, her knack for mechanics. In return, Jace offered protection, steering his crew away from her roots, even slipping her extra cash for her mother's bills. But Mia wasn't naive. She knew Jace's world was a snake pit, and his interest could turn dangerous. The twist came when she discovered Jace wasn't just a thug, he was working undercover for a rival gang, feeding them info on his own club to settle a personal score. Mia overheard him on a late-night call, his voice low and tense, and realized she'd stumbled into something bigger than a slapped cheek or a sabotaged bike. The rival gang was planning a major hit, and Jace was their inside man. Mia faced a choice: expose him and risk his wrath, or use his secret to her advantage. She chose the latter, confronting him in the diner's back alley, her toolkit in hand, a wrench glinting under the streetlight. "I know what you're doing," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. "You're playing both sides. Help me, and I'll keep quiet." Jace's eyes widened, but he saw the same steel in her that had left him curled up under his bike. What Mia wanted wasn't money, it was information. Her mother's hospital bills weren't just bad luck, they were tied to a shady pharmaceutical ring that Jace's gang had dealings with. Mia had been digging, piecing together clues from overheard conversations and stolen receipts, and now Jace was her key to the truth. Reluctantly, he agreed, feeding her scraps of intel about the ring's operations, unaware that Mia was building a case to bring them down. Months passed, their alliance a tightrope walk of trust and suspicion. Mia used her deliveries as cover, slipping into warehouses and backrooms, gathering evidence while dodging the eyes of both gangs. Jace, caught between his double life and Mia's demands, grew paranoid, his loyalty to his club fraying. The climax came on a stormy night at the same industrial bridge where Jace had crashed. Mia had tipped off the cops anonymously, leading them to a major drug shipment orchestrated by the pharmaceutical ring. As sirens wailed in the distance, Jace's gang and their rivals clashed, unaware of the sting closing in. Jace, realizing Mia's role, confronted her on the bridge, his face a mask of betrayal. "You used me," he snarled, his hand twitching toward a knife at his belt. But Mia was ready. With a move her father had drilled into her, she disarmed him in a blur, pinning his arm behind his back. "I didn't use you," she said, her voice cutting through the rain. "I gave you a chance to do something right." Before Jace could respond, the cops swarmed, arrests sweeping through both gangs. Mia slipped away, her bicycle a shadow in the storm, leaving Jace to face the consequences of his double dealing. By dawn, the pharmaceutical ring was exposed, her mother's bills covered by a whistleblower fund, and Mia was just another delivery girl again, or so it seemed. Rumors lingered in Redwood City, tales of a girl who'd toppled a biker king, but Mia kept pedaling, her toolkit at her side, her eyes always scanning the shadows for the next fight.